Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is it. This is the big one. Manchester United versus Brentford, or Brentford versus Manchester United, I should say. And a bit of a blast from the past. Joining me is Mr. James Young. Youngie, how are we doing?
All right, yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while, and you showed me up there with that Barnet. Can we have a look at James's hair? Look at this, yeah. It's like night and day here. You come here showing off because you've got a big head of hair. When us baldies, hey, look at us. Anyway, we'll get into it.
Yours glows in the sunshine today.
Thank you, there you go. You always say the right things. Make sure before we get into anything, you are hitting like, share, and subscribe. Listen, let's not beat around the bush. Let's just talk about the hot topic, the one that everyone's talking about, Mr. Mainoo. Now, I know you don't really care about England, but I know you're aware that he had a very good performance against England. As United fans, we know what he's capable of. What have you made of Mainoo, not just for England and recently, but this season, the fact he's come in and done so well? What have you made of how he's been playing?
I think it's been really impressive the way that he's just slotted into the team. Because you see a lot of time with youth players, even Garnacho to an extent, it's took him a few games to get himself sort of used to the team. 100%. With Mainoo, he just hit the ground running straight away, and I don't really remember a player in the last few years that's done that, where they've just slotted straight into the team, and it's his first season pretty much in the team. And I mean, even Diallo obviously scored the other week, but it's taken him a couple of years to start getting appearances. He just looks so mature on the ball, and he sort of reminds me a bit, you know, when Rashford came through straight away in those first games against Midtjylland, against Arsenal, where it was just like bang, like that, you know.
The winner in the derby, it was like, this kid can play for Manchester United week in, week out. No, I hear you, and it's very rare as well, isn't it, for a central midfielder to do that. Because people will go, I've had chats with people and they go, oh, you know, you had Scholes, you had Butt or whatever, but they had like a year or 2 years of being on the fringe of the team, going on loan or whatever, or you know, Beckham went on loan, but they weren't just straight in at 18, playing week in and week out for Manchester United. I know we were a lot better then. So to see someone in central midfield doing that, I mean, that's rare, isn't it?
It's also much harder to establish yourself as a midfield player, because unlike a striker or a winger where you can sort of show off a bit and take people on, it's much harder to get into the game, especially when you're a young player. You don't want to make too many mistakes. You don't want to give the ball away. You know, Mainoo's taken a lot of risks, which he doesn't need to at that age. You know, he could easily come on for 60 minutes, play it safe for half an hour, but especially against Liverpool as well, you know, he was taking players on, he was putting passes in, and the other thing is as well, you know, he wasn't losing the ball that often. You know, you see some players that try and do too much, that maybe try a couple of Hollywood passes here and there. He was so calm and composed on the ball. It was amazing.
It was great to see, because I'm not a massive England fan, but I watched the Brazil game and the Belgian game, and he obviously got player of the match, and it was funny as well because so many rival fans were criticising him before he even kicked the ball. What's he doing in the squad? Why has he got in? Oh, because he did a bit of a dribble against Liverpool. He's got into the squad. And he just silenced all the critics with a just fantastic performance and brought the best out of those around him. And it's great to see. I'm not really fussed. I want him to do well for England, but that's not my concern. I want to see him doing well for Manchester United and continue on the trajectory he's on. And I just think the sky's the limit with him. I think as long as he stays clear of injury and his attitude, which seems to be great, stays like it is, I just can't imagine him not succeeding.
No, I think that's the other thing that's funny. You get fans of other teams bitter because our youth prospects are better than theirs, and it's like I don't want him to succeed. And I still like the fact there's still that ABU mentality amongst certain fans, because even though we've not really won much recently, it's still funny that people hate United because we've got a good player.
I love that. I hate it when people don't hate United, if that makes sense, because it shows you that you're almost becoming irrelevant. Let's talk about Lisandro Martinez, sort of one extreme to the other. Martinez, who had a very, very good first season. Everyone loves him, a bit of a cult hero, the butcher and all that. Hasn't really had a season, has he? I mean, he didn't look fit to me at the beginning of the season. Then he injures himself again. He's missing. He comes back into the team, has a couple of games, gets another injury. He could be back. Erik ten Hag mentioned the fact that he's available. We don't know if he's 100% going to start, but we'll get into that in a minute. How important is Lisandro Martinez to Erik ten Hag's team?
Massive, because if you look at United's defence this season, I think that one of the main problems has been Martinez hasn't been there. I mean, when Maguire has played, he's probably had a better season this season than he has before under Solskjaer, and you know, that sort of spell where he was looking a bit shaken. Even under Ten Hag, there was two periods, but he needs someone like Martinez next to him that can just reassure him, because I mean, Varane, again, he's getting older a bit. You know, he doesn't really quite have that composure that maybe you would expect him to at times, whereas Martinez on his day is probably one of the best defenders in the Premier League. And you look back to that run where United got to the League Cup final in Ten Hag's first season, and those first few 6 months, him and Casemiro basically were the two most important players in that team. And as soon as you bring him back, I mean, looking forward to, I mean, it's a big if, United still have to beat Coventry, but that FA Cup final, he's going to be so important in that game if he's fit.
Yeah, you make a good point, because it kind of went under the radar a little bit, the fact that he got injured against Sevilla. And I remember last season, and I remember saying, like, that could do us that for the end of the season. That could like really put a spanner in the works. And I think that, I'm not saying had he been fit, we'd have beat Man City in that final, but we've had a better chance, much better chance of him in the team because he's so important. With all that being said, then let's do our predicted 11s. James, talk us through. This is the team you think Erik ten Hag will pick for the trip to Brentford.
Yeah.
So you've got it up there on the screen. You can see it there.
I can just about read it. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see that? I'll talk you through it. Right. Okay. So you've got a back five, you count the goalkeeper, of Andre Onana, you've got Wan-Bissaka on the left, you've got Victor Lindelof, Rafael Varane and Diogo Dalot. Then your midfield three is Mainoo, McTominay and Bruno Fernandes, and your front three is Rashford on the left, Højlund in the middle and Alejandro Garnacho on the right. I'm going to talk to you about your full-backs because you've gone Wan-Bissaka at left back and Dalot at right back. Why do you think Erik ten Hag will do that?
Well, I just think that's the best option he's got in terms of fitness as well. I think Shaw being injured, that's another thing that people seem to forget, that especially when it comes to fullbacks, United have a bit of an issue on that side. I think Wan-Bissaka actually has had a good season. I think going forward he's improved. He's still got that slight issue, when he gets past the halfway line, you're going to go, well, what's he going to do here? But he has got better at it. And then on the other side as well, I think Dalot last week again was excellent.
No, I think he's having a very, very good season, Diogo Dalot. I'm going to, in fact, you may as well go to mine because I think we're very, very similar, other than I've got Martinez. I think, obviously we don't know, but I think if Martinez is available, I think he's going to start. The reason I've got Wan-Bissaka on the left is because if you remember, I think when we went to Arsenal, for example, I think it was he put Dalot on the left, and it was Dalot who used to make way and sort of move over to the other side. But I think Dalot at right back is so good and so good going forward that you're better off putting Wan-Bissaka at left back because he can do the defensive thing. Going forward, he's all right. But yeah, I don't want to take Dalot away from that right back spot. And I don't think Erik ten Hag will. So I agree with that. Midfield, I don't expect Mason Mount to come in. I know he played 15 minutes, whatever it was, against Liverpool. I still don't think he's ready to start Premier League games. And the front three, if they're fit, I think we know the front three, don't we? Yeah. It picks itself. So, yeah, I
think it's a good thing in a way that Diallo's suspended, because I wouldn't want to see him start straight away after scoring that goal against Liverpool and then from have a sort of subpar performance, if that makes sense.
It's good as well because I feel like since Garnacho started, we've lacked someone off the bench who can make an impact. I don't think Anthony's that guy. I know he should be, but he isn't. Where Diallo, if he can be that guy, if he can come off the bench and get you goals and do some of the things we've seen him doing glimpses and we saw at Sunderland, then hopefully he can be a real asset to this team. Get involved in the comments in the chat. Let us know your teams. Also, we want to hear your predicted scores. So film yourself in landscaped. Send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. 30 seconds giving your score predictions, and we'll use that for the pre-match build-up on the watch-along. Right, let's talk about Brentford, because they're having a bit of a sticky time, aren't they, Brentford? It kind of goes under the radar.
It's kind of the first time they've ever been in a relegation fight in the Premier League. I mean, last season was fairly comfortable. They sort of finished mid-table. Everyone was praising Thomas Frank when he first got them promoted. They're saying, look, they're such a great team. Beat United pretty comfortably. Beat Arsenal. They had a couple of good wins at the start. But I think the problem is with promoted sides, once people start to find them out a bit, and we saw this a bit with Burnley under Dyche and Sheffield United to an extent, they don't really have a plan B. And as soon as people realise how to beat them, it's like, well.
It's weird, isn't it, as well, because everyone thought when Tony got suspended, they're going to be in trouble. And they weren't really. They were doing all right. And then more recently, I think they've had one point out of the last 15 that have been available. And I think it's 3 wins in the last 18 games, I think it is. I mean, that's relegation.
It is. But I think the other thing that they've got to their advantage is obviously the points deductions to Everton and Forest means that the relegation fight this season, and because Sheffield United are terrible, let's face it, you're going to have to be really, really bad to go down this season. Like, I honestly think the bottom 4 teams in the Premier League this season are the worst that we've had ever.
Ever?
I think so, yeah. Honestly, name me a worse bottom 4 that you can think of.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I can. Oh, right, sorry. Yeah. So I get you. You mean you don't mean they're the 4 worst teams like ever to play in the Premier League. The bottom 4 is the worst bottom 4. I get you, but I feel like Luton are a bit unlucky. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, because Luton, on paper, you go lose, draw, lose. But if you watch those games, they give big teams and a lot of teams a run for their money. They did it with us. Yeah. And I know you don't get points for almost drawing. You still lose, but I do feel they're a little bit unlucky, especially when they've had no money.
I think if you replace the top 5 teams of the Championship with the bottom 5 teams in the Premier League, it would be different. Okay,
well, they're going to do that with 3, aren't they? But yeah, the weird thing is this season as well, like the relegation could be decided in the court. Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? Even after there's a chance that even at the last day of the season, once that final whistle goes, we still won't know for definite who could be relegated if certain teams get points deducted or they get the sort of the points, the amount of points they've had took off them lowered. It's just weird, isn't it?
I mean, West Ham were ahead of their time beating us in 2007. They just broke all the rules anyway and stayed up.
I know, and then Sheffield United took them to court and lost. With all that being said then, give us your score prediction for this game.
It's going to be a weird game. I think the kick-off time people aren't really speaking about enough. 8 o'clock on a Saturday. That's such a bad kick-off time for everyone involved. For
it's
fans,
so weird as well. Why have we got it at 8 o'clock on a Saturday in the middle of a bank holiday weekend?
It doesn't make any sense. Even getting back, even everything, even for the staff, the players, logistically, it's just terrible. So I think that's going to have a bit more of an impact. I don't think it's going to be a great game. So I think if you sat around all day as a player waiting for an 8 o'clock kick-off, it's not like a midweek fixture. It's like sort of on the weekend. It's a bit of a random time to play a game of football. I think it'll be a bit of a boring game. I think United should win, but I think it'll be one of those sort of 2-0 sort of performances that you don't really remember in a few years' time, you know.
I'll say that. Yeah. I hope it is just, you know, unmemorable for the right reason. We win and that's it. We can all move on. I'll go 1-0. I fancy us to win, but I think it's going to be close. And with you, I don't expect it to be free-flowing attacking football. I think there's this sort of thing, if you stop Ivan Toney, you can stop Brentford. They've got other good players as well, so we need to be mindful of that, but I expect us to get over the line. James, always a pleasure. Let us know where we can find you. Tell us all the things you've been doing, because you're busy. So
I'm a busy man.
Plug everything. You've got the floor is yours, Senator.
If you go on to my Instagram, James_Young, all one word, the word underscore, you can find it on there. Also, headlining the Britain's Protection, 12th of April, doing my poetry, so get yourself down to that.
Anything else? Any other
business? We can plug United We Stand as well.
Listen, if you want to plug United We Stand, feel free to, man. Doing a lot of good work for him. Always a pleasure, James. Good to see you back on the channel. Make sure you follow him on all his channels as well. And don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. We'll be here for the watch along. Let me get that right. Watch along. There you go. That's how you say it. For the Brentford game. So hit like, share and subscribe. That's been James Young. I've been Jay Motty. This has been the Brentford preview. Thanks for watching.